So this month I was asked to give a talk about magic. What a loaded subject. And I don't know if I'm really very qualified to speak on such a massive, very sacred, very weighty subject. But I know that for me it immediately conjures a sense of the fantastic, the unforeseen. Obviously, as a storyteller, for me, magic populates the pages of fairy tales, and it's that wonderful loaded word that implies the fantastic, the unforeseen, bewitchment, enchantment, the idea of miracles and a myriad of mystery. And who can say? It's almost impossible to find the words really to describe magic. But my understanding of magic is that thousands of years ago, human beings were able to work with a particular energy that filters through the different dimensions of creation from the unseen worlds. And thousands of years ago, when everything was still so new and fresh, and when human beings treated creation as a very magical, very sacred, numinous place, there were people trained to work with magic, and some people were trained to work with animals and birds, and some were trained to work with plants and the realms of the nature spirits. Some were trained as alchemists. There were shamanic teachers. There were high priestesses, and it was a sort of an interplay between people who were enabled to midwife certain energies from other planes into this field of existence. And for, I don't know how long, but for a very, very long time, it was a conversation and interplay that was about keeping things in balance and experiencing this very mystical, extraordinary relationship between humans and the natural world. I think, as I understand it, what happened was that at some point in the history of humanity, there came a misuse of magic. There came what would be known now as the dark arts. But it was really somebody who took that magic and decided to use it for their own power and profit. And when you take a substance that's so powerful and you turn it to your own benefit, apparently, as I understand, by its nature, that then becomes dark magic. And fairy tales, of course, are full of stories about the misuse of magic for power, profit, or self-seeking, self-gain. And we all know about the dark witch, the dark spell, the dark enchantment, and it usually falls upon somebody in the story who is innocent, who doesn't realize what's happening, and who is caught in this web of a spell that's put upon them. We all know about Sleeping Beauty, who pricks her finger on the thorn of the rose and falls asleep for 100 years. We know about the Lion, the Witch in the Wardrobe, and the Snow Queen, who feeds Turkish delight to one of the children, and he becomes intoxicated by all this sweet, sickly sweet food that she feeds him, and he falls under her spell, but he knows that he's being a bit sickened by it. I could say that at the moment we are all under a dark enchantment, and it's the spell of materialism, and we are bound to keep shopping and buying things we don't need, intoxicated and seduced by adverts and the promise of some sort of well-being or satisfaction that we will gain from having more and more and more. And this rapacious consumption that we're all caught in is really making us sickened and sickening our planet. Then there are the stories of the fairy godmother, of the bright enchantment, of the spell that assists, of the transformation. She transforms Cinderella to go to the ball. Our hero or heroine finds a secret door in the castle or in the side of the hill through which they can step into an otherworldly realm where magic takes place, where you might find dwarves under the hills, or a magnificent gown waiting for you, or the hero finds his silver shield and his sword. We find animals and birds, secret helpers. When we need them most, they come. When we're lost in the forest, and help us to find our way. And these are all acts of grace. This is magic that is given. These are the moments when this energy from another world intersects with this world, and you have synchronicities, unexpected meetings. It's when the book falls off the bookshelf. It's when the owl sits on the fence at the end of the garden. Grace is involved, divine enchantment. So dark magic is manipulated, whereas bright, light, divine magic is a gift. It's grace. It is allowed. It is received. We just have to be open. So I'm incredibly respectful of magic. But do I believe in it? Absolutely. Do I hope for magic and miracles in my own life? Gosh, who doesn't? I think, we live in particularly in this country. This country is renowned through indigenous cultures throughout the world as a very, very magical place. And the magic, as I understand it, is in the soil. Magic, if you really want to find magic and have an experience of magic, you don't need to look any further than the natural world. Creation is full of magic. And when we lost those original values and those original capacities that our ancestors had to work with this substance, the wise women who could work with these other multitude of realities, the women of the hedge who worked with the nature spirits, the magicians, the wise men, the wizards, the Merlins of this world. Our myths and our fables and our fairy tales are full of magic. But I think something happened whereby we lost the capacity to a lot of esoteric knowledge got lost, and it began thousands of years ago with the banishment first of the goddess, of the feminine. And the feminine way to be with nature is not to change it, to subjugate it, to tame it, to unwild it, to control it. It is actually to allow it. And if we can retreat into our childlike selves and see that a tree is just treeing and the sea is just breathing in and out, this one web of life, lifing, that we are part of, an unfolding magic. I just always say that if we can somehow reconnect with the magical selves that we are, because we are actually, human beings are born multidimensional. We're very, very magical beings, we humans. We have imaginations with this extraordinary capacity. And I think it is something that children are very good at. And then we lose that as we get older. In the words of E. E. Cummings, down they forgot as up they grew. But if we can reconnect with our magical selves and become as children when we see into nature, and let go of the cloak that is us and our thinking and who we think we are, and release ourselves, then I do believe that when we have this wild love affair with life and with nature, I think the owl arrives on the fence at the end of the garden. I think that books fall off bookshelves. I think we have chance meetings with people. And you start to notice the synchronicities showing up every day in your life. And that's magic.